offer my prayer. Good morning all and Jai Sadgurudeo. Before we begin the session, I would like to go down and offer my prayers to the holy feet of Lord Sadgurudeo. Please join me by closing your eyes. सच्चिदानंद स्वरूप है मम आराध्य भगवान, बार बार वंदन करूं युक्ति भेद रत ज्ञान, आदि अंत अरु मध्य में शाश्वत जाको से, अमृत अंतर्यामी हो नमो नमो मम देव। Welcome to yet another awaited session of our weekly Sunday Satsang. I am Ravi and have joined this virtual Satsang from Texas. In the present era, our daily lives are perpetually consumed by the pursuit of meetings, our physical and mental needs, as well as fulfilling our social obligations. Seeing this, the hustle and the bustle of this fast-paced routine, the essential needs of the soul are often get neglected or overshadowed. Therefore, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to each and everyone who has joined this satsang and carving out a precious time from their packed schedules, where we aim to nourish the needs of our soul, focus our minds, and learn wisdom from Swarved and ancient scriptures written by sages. Our focus today will be on delving into the profound insights of Swarved Wisdom. Before we start our session, let's get started first by welcoming our Sadgurudeo to bless this occasion by Swagat Gaan.
आज स्वागत नित्य गुरुवर संत शुभागम आइए, अध्यात्म विद्या दिव्य ज्योति सोमरस बरसाइए। दोष दुर्गुण दूर करके शुद्ध हंस बनाइए, भेद गम गति ज्ञान गर्जन शक्ति द्वार हटाइए। खुले द्वारा शब्द सागर भक्त जन अनहवाइए, जन सदा फल विश्व शिक्षक शान आन बचाइए, शान आन बचाइए।
Now, in the presence of Sadgurudeo, our next prayer is His Holiness is Mangal Gaan. Let us immerse ourselves in his thoughts and pray to him to eradicate differences and ills among various classes, communities, and sections, and have a universal peace. Let this earth be a heavenly place where plentiful bliss, prosperity, and peace sustain. I would again play a beautiful composition of Mangal Gaan.
विश्व शांति नाम मंगल परम गुरु को ध्याइए, वर्ग द्वंद्व शांति दूर कर भाव भेद मिटाइए। सार्वभौम समष्टि सत्ता त्यात्मराज बनाइए, वेश भाषा भाव जगमय ज्ञान पर दर्शाइए। समृद्धि सुख शांति धरातल स्वर्ग भूमि बनाइए, विश्व शिक्षक जन सदा फल नीति स्वर अपनाइए, नीति स्वर अपनाइए।
Now, after Mangalgan and blessings from Sadgurudeo, let's move towards the soul of this satsang, which is Swarved Wisdom. Swarved holds a central place within the philosophy of Vihangam Yoga. The recitation of its verses, known as couplets, and in Hindi we call it as a dohe, has a profound ability to instill harmony and peace within our soul and mind, guiding us towards righteousness. Today we are joined by Dr. Subhash Ji, an individual who shares a deep connection with Vihangam Yoga. His spiritual journey has brought him close to achieving great heights in his spirituality. He is a beloved disciple of Lord Sadgurudeo. Dr. Subhash Ji has been blessed multiple times by Sadguru himself. One of Subhash Ji's remarkable contribution lies in his ability to connect and correlate the teachings of Swarved with various other ancient scriptures. This interbeing of wisdom from different sources enhances our understanding of spirituality and brings to the light with the universal truth that these teachings convey. Now let's turn our attention to Subhash Ji, who will elaborate on the benefits that we can all derive from the profound wisdom encapsulated in Swarved and its related teachings. Over to you, Dr. Subhash Ji.
Yes, Sadgurudeo. Thank you, Ravi Shankar Ji. Thanks to all who have joined today for this satsang. And thanks to NAIVY for organizing this for the last more than 2 years. तीन लोक नवखंड में गुरु से बड़ा न कोई, करता करे ना करी सके, गुरु करे सो हो। अखंड मंडलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं, तत्पदं दर्शितं येन, तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. So for today's Swarved Wisdom, we have couplet 2 to 22 from Swarveda second mandal, second chapter, 22nd couplet. तीक्ष्ण जेहि विराग है, त्यागे विषय विलास, मोह निशा पर बुद्ध है, ज्ञानी सद्गुरुदास. तीक्ष्ण जेहि विराग है. तीक्ष्ण as in sudden, sharp. Jehi, here the reference is for anyone, any disciple, anyone. Tikshn Jehi virag hai. Virag as in vairagya or detachment, dispassion. Tyage Vishay Vilas. Tyagna as in giving up, renunciation, and what one has to give up? Vishay and Vilas. The day-to-day things of pleasure, entertainment, which gives us gratification. Moh nisha par buddh hai, jnani sadgurudas. So jnani means the one who understands, the one who has the knowledge, and he is Sadguru Das. He is the one who is in the holy feet of Sadgurudeo and has the knowledge of what this Bhog Vilas is. They are the one who are Moh Nisha par Buddha. Moh as in all the illusions of the world. So the way the reference here is Moh Nisha, as in the darkness of the illusion, the night of the illusion. Because of their knowledge and because of their surrender to Sadguru, they are par Buddha. Par Buddha is the enlightenment. So in summary, those who are capable of giving up worldly desires and attachment, with their detachment and their knowledge, they are the enlightened one, especially where everyone else is lost in this worldly pleasure. Now, what knowledge is being referred to here? Jnani Sadguru Das. So the knowledge is knowing things in the form or in the way they are. And knowledge can be in multiple form and shape, regardless of the age. And this reminds me of Nachiketa's story. So I believe most of the people have known about Nachiketa. He was so it is a story of where the Nachiketa was the son of the king, and the name of the king was Vajsravasha. So the king was doing some ritual in which, or yajna, in which he is, the commitment, the part of the yajna was that he will be giving up all his prized possessions. In that position, his son Nachiketa was near him, whereas his father kept giving the unwarranted things, the things that were not important for him, like the old cattle, the piece of land which was barren. Seeing his father not doing the right thing, not serving the purpose of this sacrifice, this young boy, Nachiketa, asked his father, "Father, I am your prized possession. To whom I will be given away?" Father was busy. He did not react once. Nachiketa asked again, "Father, to whom are you giving me away?" After the repetition by Nachiketa, the father was pestered, and he, out of anger and frustration, he said he would give his son to Yama, the Lord of Death. And to keep his father's word, Nachiketa walked towards Yama's home. And obviously his father started crying, realizing what he has done or what he has said. Now we are talking about the word Gyan. Until and unless you have the knowledge, Vairagya will be chanik, as in will be momentary. So with this story, I want to bring up the part of the knowledge. So as the scripture says, Nachiketa went to Yama's house. Yama was not in his house. He waited outside the door without food and water. And as Yama returned, he was very angry and furious that a young Brahmin has to wait at his door for 3 days without food and water. So to compensate the suffering of this young Nachiketa, in the form of apology, Yama offered him 3 boons. And then Nachiketa asked, his first boon was that my father should not be angry with me. Yama granted him the first boon. Second boon was he wanted to know the truth behind the sacrificial fire, as in the yajna that we did on 12th of August. So Yama explained him it is a symbolic, that sacrificial fire is a symbolic of knowledge. And it's so much of detail about it, how to light the fire. Then there is a knowledge of perception of what the fire indicates, what it emanates. And the third is the inferential knowledge of the fire, that it's you who can control the fire and it's you who can utilize it to burn things. So there is essence in it that the fire has its value to give light and heat. But at the same time, it's us who has to control the fire. And if we let it burns everything. So here again, there is a knowledge of controlled fire. Now, the third boon that Nachiketa asked Yama was to know what happens after death. Yama offered him everything on this universe, all worldly pleasures, gold, diamond, anything and everything that he could have asked for. But he didn't agree. He did not change his third request. And he said, I need to know what happens after death. He had to wait for months at the doorsteps of Lord Yama, Lord of Death. He still did not get the answer. After months and months of staying there, then Lord of Death said, the basic knowledge is that the soul never dies or takes birth. Soul never dies or takes birth. That was the knowledge that was imparted by Yama to Nachiketa. So the knowledge here is the key. And you see that for these basic knowledge, in the ancient time, one had to go through meticulous vetting and the process. Only then they were imparted such knowledge and wisdom. Here in today's world, we are imparted that knowledge merely by reading Swarveda. But the more important aspect is to understand the knowledge hidden in Swarveda. So the Vairagya that we are talking about here is not right if the Vairagya happens in lack of knowledge. And here the knowledge that soul never dies. So there is no death. So Nachiketa was made aware that he is not merely the body, but he is soul. So since he is soul, only the body will die, he will not die. So spending the entire life in serving the body, meeting the bodily needs, bodily pleasure, is waste of being human. Something which is known to perish, something which is known not to exist. And still we keep nurturing that part of us. So until and unless we have that knowledge embodied within us, because there is a difference between knowing things and appreciating them the way they are. We all know soul is immortal. We all know that the body perishes someday or the other. But do we acknowledge it in our day-to-day life? Whenever we have craving for more and more belongings, earthly belongings, and we get frustrated when there is failure, do we realize that there is no need for frustration? What we need more is for this body which is not going to exist. Whereas what will stay is the soul, and this time on this earth should be spent in nourishing and nurturing the soul and the need of this soul. See, about the lust and about the power of desires, there are many stories. A snake caught a male frog, and the snake was in the process of swallowing the frog. Literally, most part of the frog had been swallowed by the snake, and only the face of the frog was outside the snake's mouth. A little further away, another snake was similarly swallowing a female frog, And here too, most of the female frog's body was already swallowed, with only the face being visible outside the snake's mouth. So death was certain to both the frogs, but they were living their final moment, and yet when they saw each other, they fell in love. So what we need to understand, that is the power of desire. Even when we are on the verge of death, the pull of worldly pleasure is great. So the Swarved Wisdom states that it's not easy to get rid of that worldly desires and pleasure. But it is doable. How? By Gyan, by the knowledge, by Sadguru. And when you have devoted yourself to Sadguru, and tich jahi virag hai, and attempting to, trying even, to give up the lust, the attachment, those are the steps where we get rid of the worldly attachment and desire slowly and gradually, and move towards the path of enlightenment. This is my understanding of this couplet. Back to you, host. If anyone would like to add anything, any questions, please.
Thank you, Subhasji, for explaining the meaning of this couplet. I would request all the participants, if you have any questions, this is the right moment. You can unmute yourself and you may ask questions related to this couplet. Okay, let's move to the next couplet then.
Desudeo, Raviji,
Yes, Gurudev.
I just want to express my feeling on when we talk about subject of Tyag and Vairagya and these subjects. One thing that Prathamacharya Devji Maharaj said that, it has to actually come from within, and if anybody wants to force themselves into Tyag and Vairagya, then it is only going to cause agony and suffering, because it doesn't align to what our mind wants from within. So this is very tricky situation where, when we speak about the spiritual progress, we attack on the worldly pleasures as if they are enemies. But this is very natural. Basically, it has to be a natural and gradual change within, not a forceful change that we need to accept. And also we need to probably advocate others also that, ultimately we all need happiness. We all need happiness. If we are not there in a state where there is a natural action towards or inclination towards spiritual practices, then the only thing that Sadgurudeo says can help is the yoga abhyas. When we practice meditation, then our state of mind changes. Because for our britti to change, it is important that we meditate. So when somebody says that, it is difficult to detach from worldly subjects, it is natural. Every human being have the same situation. So instead of talking about that to the fellow who is, or let's say to me, I'm talking about myself. Let's say I have worldly inclinations. There are things that I'm attached to. So instead of feeling guilty about it or feeling bothered about that, the only thing that I need to do is remind myself, some sort of reminder that, meditation is also essential for me. This worldly pleasure is good, but meditation is also essential for me. And I mean, even if I am, let's say, inclined towards some worldly pleasures, I should not feel guilty about it, because that's how the human being are. They are looking for happiness from one or the other places. But when we connect to satsang like this, we understand that we have a prime goal also. So instead of getting lost into just worldly pleasures, we need to also in parallel work upon ourselves, so that our inclination really shifts from worldly pleasure to activities like practicing service, helping others, or involving ourselves into the dissemination of this spiritual knowledge, this world prachar of this Vihangam Yoga knowledge. We need to definitely work upon ourselves to create happiness out of these. And this will come only when we are inspired by the prime goal of life. So every time I feel that, okay, I'm little dim on the spiritual activities and I'm getting diverted into worldly pleasures, I don't feel guilty about it, but I just acknowledge it. I acknowledge that my state of mind right now is not spiritual. It is worldly. But just because we are fortunate that we join satsang like this every week, at least in our intellect, this is very clear that what I need to do to shift my state of mind from being worldly to spiritual. And so on those occasions, I will choose some sattvic activities. Let's say I'm feeling, as if I want entertainment. So I have to at least choose something which is sattvic entertainment. So sometimes, even though we are not ready for dhyan or satsang, but if you have a collection of some melodious bhajan, or if, or let's say, you, instead of that, we can also choose some sports, just to shift our gear from being very tamasic to at least rajasic, and then to sattvic. It is, so it has to be some resort for us where we can go to help shift our state of mind, because we cannot force our mind. It has to be gradual. The one that we need to be very careful about it is that we should not do any immoral activity, even though our mind is too much worldly and needs entertainment. we must still make sure that we are within maryada. We are within boundary of being a human being. We cannot be cruel to others. We cannot be untruthful, unfaithful, untrustworthy to others. Maintaining those righteous boundaries, it is quite natural. Sometimes we need entertainment because we are not there yet. So getting into any kind of entertainment which is still within the boundary of righteousness, we are all fine. We should not feel bothered about this fact that I need entertainment today, because we are made of body, mind, and soul. Right now we are with the body, mind, and anything that happens to the body and mind, it affects the soul. We have to accept this bondage and take everything along. So we need to definitely choose one or the other things which can help shift from being very worldly to at least towards spiritual. So one or the other things, at least it helps me that whenever I'm very stressed and not ready for even meditation, I go and play table tennis. At least that gives me the right chemicals in my brain which makes me feel happy about it. And then I can come back and I can read Swarved, I can think about Prachar Prasar Seva, I can meditate because my mind is positive now. So this is what I just wanted to share here, that we have to accept the fact of life. We have to accept that how mind works, but then we know ourselves what could be the way for us to move from being inclined to worldly pleasures towards back to spiritual. What is the bridge? You have to build the bridge for your own, and that bridge has to be very righteous bridge, should not be immoral or injustice to anybody. You cannot find or seek entertainment by hurting others or speaking false to others. All that immoral, non-righteous activities we have to refrain from. But at the same time, if you need to entertain your mind during those situations, stressful situation, you need it and you accept it, you do it. But when we promote our yogic state, automatically this very need of entertainment itself will be gone, because you'll be already in bliss. You'll be already very joyful within just by reading Swarved. If my devotion goes to that level, Kshanik Vairagya, sometimes it happens that then that day you don't need anything else, but you find equal amount of happiness just by listening to Swamiji's Amritvani or Namdev Sarkar's Vani or reading Swarved. It totally depends how the state of mind is. But for those days when your state of mind is not like that, we definitely need to have a list of things which can help us shift from there to back to the spiritual activity. Thank you. Jai Sadgurudeo.
Thank you, Vijayji, for further enlightening us.
Just Sadgurudeo.
Yes, sir.
This is Niranjan. Thank you so much for the very wiseful words. I just wanted to add one thing. There's always some questions in people's minds that if this knowledge is paravidya, it is the divine knowledge, and it is so useful, then why the world hasn't gotten to it? Why the world is still doing what they think, pursuing their passion and dream, and to gain, accumulate, as much as they can in power, position, money, whatnot, right? So I was listening to, I think, our Guruji or maybe another Mahapurush, and they explain it in a very righteous way, actually, in a very simplistic way. They said that, hey, if you are selling diamonds, how many buyers do you have? Do you expect everybody to buy diamonds? No, there's only certain kind of people who understand the value of diamond, even though everybody knows that there is a God. Everybody knows there is diamond, everybody knows, but they're not real buyers. The buyers are very, very few. So I think it's very much applicable in this adhyatma. This is a paravidya. This is the knowledge to attain Bhagavad through the path of Guru, Bhakti, and that's why I think the recipients cannot be expected to be the whole masses actually, and the whole masses will do the chanting. They will do the some level of awareness about understand there's a Bhagwan there somewhere, but we don't know, and they have never bothered to know what that is. They have never bothered to understand what tattvas are. The first step in any spiritual progression is to understand tattva gyan. If there is no tattva gyan, Guru kya hote hain, Sadguru kya hote hain, Ishwar kya hote hain, what are the levels? These are the tattvas, who we are, what are the jivas, what is the relationship of the jivas with the Almighty. If people are not asking these questions, they are checking the box. Like everybody knows diamond is very precious, but that's about it. They're not serious buyers. So I think what Vijayji was saying is very much, I thought that this is very much fits into exactly that same thing. So I just wanted to share that bhava as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Niranjanji. So if no more questions added to these couplets, we can move to next doha. Yeah. Over to you, Subhashi.
Ji. See, in the discussion of the previous couplet, a lot of important things were brought forward by both the speaker. And Swamiji has said it in Swarveda, Mana chanik vairagya le chadhe utung akash, तुरत राग में गिरत है सदगुण जीव विनाश. So sometimes it feels that it's easy to get detached, to lose passion towards things, either out of failure, out of lack of satisfaction. But those moments are not the real detachment or vairagya. And vairagya at the level of mana chanik vairagya le. Here the man is getting detached because man is not happy, the mind is not experiencing happy. But then it falls back to the worldly things. Turat rag mein girat hai, rag as in the worldly belongings, attachments. So vairagya is easier said than done. And vairagya without detachment, without knowledge, as Niranjanji added, tattva gyan, detachment without knowledge will lead to getting attached more and more. It is on the same principle that once you keep yourself away from something, saying that I'm detached, you will see yourself more attached and more attracted towards it. So just giving up something is not detachment. Giving up something is not vairagya. It's mainly at the level when we say renunciation. Renunciation is not giving up. It's a knowledge-based understanding that this is not what I am, this is not what I need, and this is not what me as a human needs to do. Now the next couplet, second mandal, second chapter, 23rd couplet. धैर्य विवेकाभ्यास से आत्म हटे सत्य भेष, भोग भोग शांति नहीं, यह सद्गुरु उपदेश. धैर्य विवेकाभ्यास से, धैर्य means patience, vivek wisdom knowledge, abhyas practice. So with patience, knowledge, wisdom, practice, atma hate satya bhes. Only with continuous effort and perseverance, satya bhes or satya bhas, one gets to experience the truth, the reality. Atma hate, Atma is soul, hate means it gets away from what? As in reference to the previous couplet, it gets separated from bhog and rag. It gets separated from the worldly attachments and desires, because the soul has satya bhes. Satya means truth, bhes means witness or experience. So as Vijayji was saying that attachment won't happen just like that. We are in this world and the worldly things are required and needed to survive and to sustain in this worldly atmosphere. But what we need for detachment is patience and knowledge of what we are detaching from, to what end, and continuous practice. See, we have years and years and years of practice from 2 to 3 years of age until now. Practice of getting attached to worldly things, enjoying a movie, doing something which gives us pleasure. So to detach from that, it needs a similar amount of duration, similar practice, and a pleasure indiscernible. Only then, the way we work is, if we are getting, we all say that the life is full of misery. And if we are getting pleasure out of something, then that is our peaceful place, that is our safety net. So to come out of that and practice meditation, for some people it seems futile, has no purpose. But at the same time, if that mutation is giving you the blessing, the pleasure, which is not even comparable to the kind of pleasure one was getting by maybe watching TV, eating food of certain nature. So that pleasure, once you get, it comes from practice, patience and practice. Because you are making yourself de-learn what you have learned over multiple years, so it will need practice. And only after practice and patience and the wisdom, we go in the right direction. Bhoga bhoga shanti nahi, yah sadguru upadesh. Bhog bhog shanti nahi. Bhog is to get indulged. The more you are indulged in something, that indulgence is, if you're not satisfied, you indulge more. So here Swamiji says that just by indulgence, you're not going to get peace. Yah Sadguru Updesh. Yah, this Sadguru Updesh is the wisdom, is the knowledge. that Sadguru is telling us that just by indulgence, we cannot get peaceful. We cannot reach the stage that we would like to. Now, see, here comes a famous story of King Yayati on the importance of, or on the de-importance, let's say, of indulgence. So King Yayati was married to the Princess Divyani, who was the daughter of Sukracharya. Sukracharya was a saint, everyone respected him, and he was one of those saints who would be in the courthouse, in their court, to help in decision making. So Yayati, even though he was married to Sukracharya's daughter Divyani, he slept with Sharmistha. Now, who was Sharmistha? Sharmistha was the maid servant. She was the servant of Divyani, and the king ended up sleeping with the queen's maid servant Sharmistha. The queen got furious. She went back to her father Sukracharya and told him her plight, what has happened to her. Sukracharya was very angry, and he, out of anger, Sukracharya gave his curse that this man who is using his youth he took away his youth and told him that I want you to understand the pain for a lustful man like you to lose his youth and vitality before the natural time. Yayati the king became in great distress, and he asked his father-in-law for forgiveness. So Sukracharya then said, because his concern was, Yayati's concern was that I am not yet satisfied with my youth or with my wife Divyani. I'm still, my hunger has not been quenched. So he asked for forgiveness, that please take away your curse and make sure that this decrepitude might not touch me. This sudden aging should not happen to me. On which Sukracharya gave him a blessing that if someone could exchange your old age, not someone, one of your son, if is willing to exchange his old age with you and give their youth to you, then that is the way it is only possible for you to get your youth back. Yayati came back to his kingdom, overcome with the feeling of getting old and being unable to enjoy what he had been enjoying for multiple years. He called all his sons, and the youngest of all, finally, whose name was Puru, agreed to give Yayati his youth. After getting the youth back from his son Puru, the king Yayati was very much gratified, and he once again began indulging in his favorite pursuits to the full extent of all his desires. With his unimpaired senses, he was enjoying unparalleled and unlimited material happiness. he continued to enjoy, but he continued to have one fear again, that all these will come to an end one day. So no matter how much he had transgressed and he had enjoyed and tried to satisfy his lust, his hunger, it was unquenchable. And on top of it, he has the fear that all of this will come to an end one day. And in the back of his mind, the king Yayati has this truth lurking, that after even 1,000 years, he will have to give up all this. He still felt unsatisfied after 1,000 years of youth that was given by his son Puru. And he was skeptical that on one hand, his desires are still high, they are still burning. On the other hand, he was also aware of the evanescent, the vaporizing nature of the material pleasure. With this intellect, he called his son Puru and gave his youth back. And he retired into the woods, followed by Brahmins and ascetics. And thereafter, leading the life of Brahmin and those ascetic, he lived in bliss for some time. And the story goes on that even after that bliss, he had to suffer. But the core here is that as we heard, that bhog bhog shanti nahi, no matter how much you indulge, it will never lead to renunciation, or it will never lead to giving up of your desire. It is said that as supplying butter to a fire does not extinguish the fire, but instead increases it more and more, the endeavor to stop lusty desires by continual enjoyment can never be successful. It's just the knowledge that the happiness on this planet is temporary and it's useless. Once we keep this knowledge on mind and we contemplate, that the entire life is not only to fulfill these desires. It's in this contemplation and then the patience, practice, and this wisdom helps one to move forward and get rid of this bindings, to lead oneself in the path, the righteous path, which makes one free from the cycle of birth and rebirth. That is all I have to add on this couplet. Back to you, host.
Oh, thank you, Subhasji. Yeah, the crux of this dua is like how we have to decouple ourselves from the worldly attachments with the bhogs, and how to develop the sense of tyag. And very nicely explained by you, Dr. Subhasji. If anybody wants to add or comment or question, please unmute your mic and you may ask. Okay. So seems like Shivaji, everybody, we understood what is the bhasya of this doha, and you have explained it with the various examples, with the historical context, and with the storyline. I think, thank you so much. Now, before moving to next segment, I want to share something with you. So today is His Holiness Sadguru Sadafal Ji Maharaj Janma Jayanti. We are celebrating this festival in India as well as in US. There are multiple satsangs, havans have been conducted across the globe, and I would request Vijay ji to to share in very brief about the journey of Sadhu Sadafal Devji Maharaj and what is his message to the whole humanity.
Jai Sadgurudeo, everyone. This is definitely one of the great occasion in our life. Just like we have various festivals in Vihangam Yoga family, this is the greatest festival for the followers of Sadgurudeo, followers of Vihangam Yoga, because this is the occasion when Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj came in the human form, and we are celebrating it because it is he who brought this knowledge back on the earth when the Paravidya went into oblivion after Mahabharata era. Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, was a chosen soul for this knowledge to be brought back on the earth by none other than the Nityanadi Sadguru, the eternal master, who is always there in non-human form. So right from his childhood, when he was like just 2 years old, he was exhibiting one or the other thing that showed the sign that he is going to be one of the greatest master of his time. Right at the age of 2, he used to sit in Siddhasana and used to tell his parents that I am your master, bow down to me. And the parents used to just, feel surprised about it. And they used to, just for making the boy happy, they used to bow down. So it's like that. But then they didn't realize that this is something that is a pre-sign about master in making. So after that, when he was at the age of 11, he already had this very deep seeking from inside to experience the divine, not just talk about it, not just hear about it, but experience it himself. And he left home looking for masters here and there. He used to sit in the cave, self-made cave, and used to practice on his own. Whatever master used to tell him, he used to do that. And various masters, not one or two. He met all different sects and the practices. Masters told them to practice Hatha Yoga, he did. Told them to practice Mantra Yoga, he did. He did everything, and he perfected everything. So it is said that if Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj would have chosen to become a Hatha Yogi, he would have been the greatest Hatha Yogi of his time, because he perfected everything. Before even he formally was initiated by Sadguru, by the Eternal Master, into the Brahma Vidya, into Chetan Path, into Chetan Yoga, even before that, by the various mudras and kumbhak and various Hatha Yogic practices, Raj Yoga practices. He was 24 hours in Anhad. He was already experiencing all these just by his own practice before even getting into the Chetan Path, which is based on the purest self. But despite he was experiencing everything, he was experiencing Om, he was experiencing all 5 universal sounds, Om, Soham, Shakti, Rarankar, Niranjan, all 10 Anhads, Tal, Damp, Murli, Veena, Jhan, all these various mystic sounds, light, he was experiencing while in search of the divine experience. Yet, he was not quenched by those experiences because he knew that the divine is conscious and that experience has to be something different, because Vedas and ancient scriptures has said that the God cannot be experienced with our indriyas. And whatever he was experiencing so far, he knew that the basis of all these experience that I have, the sound and light, is my indriyas. So they cannot be the experiences of the Almighty himself. The Almighty experience has to be something different. And he continued his journey. He used to practice 6 days in a row or 7 days in a row of any technique that the master would give, any other master would give, and he will perfect it. And the master himself will then admit that this shishya has done more than what I could do for myself. So his sincerity towards achieving the divine experience was at the peak. Nobody can match. And that's why, Sadhguru Sadafal Deji was born in 1888 and he left his body in 1954. So just think about how many years he lived in the mortal frame. In that time period itself, he already became the God realized. He became eligible for holding Sadguru power. He wrote 35 different divine books, one of them being the Swarved couplets, Swarved dohas. The commentary, the translation, or rather the explanation of Swarved was done by Prathamacharya Sri Dhamchand Devji Maharaj, but the wisdom of Swarved in doha format was written by Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, and that being just one of those 35 books. In that short span of time, Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj practiced 17 years of all these rigorously all these techniques, including Vihangam Yoga technique, which he received from Eternal Master after he was done with every other technique, when he thought that nothing in this world is making me practice something which is based on my purest consciousness. All the practices somebody is asking me to chant, which is based on my speech. They're asking me to contemplate, which is based on my mind and intellect. And he knew that the God realization has to be beyond these practices. So he was disappointed, and then returning back after he had been to, east and west and north and south of India, met all masters, he was disappointed, and returning back to Balia, which is in UP, which is his birthplace. And then Eternal Master came in the form of a divine saint, and looking at in a human form. And when he looked at that holy saint, he somehow felt that this master looks different. And he bowed down to the master, and master asked, what do you want? I can grant you the boon of everything that you can ask for from this world. And he said, I want nothing but the experience of the divine, the experience of the Almighty. He reiterated um, by offering that you ask me anything else, I can give you anything in a moment. But then Sadhguru Siddhartha Maharaj was very clear with what he wanted. With this, Eternal Master was utterly pleased and then granted him the divine eyes to experience the consciousness and asked him to practice this 6 months in a row in a cave without interacting with anybody else in the world. So for 6 months in a row, he did Guha Anushtan. And during those times, the Eternal Master appeared in the form of Sadhguru Siddhartha Devji Maharaj in Khari, just to establish this, that I am now going to come to you all, the world, the people, in the human form of Sadhguru Siddhartha Devji Maharaj. Sadhguru Siddhartha Devji Maharaj is going to be the representation of myself. It was just a gesture by Eternal Master to tell to the world that now you accept Siddhartha Devji Maharaj as my representation. He is going to represent the eternal Sadguru power, because I am going to bless him with my energy and power. So that was a gesture by appearing in the form of Sadguru Siddhartha Devji Maharaj, while Siddhartha Devji Maharaj was actually practicing it in the cave. And once his practice was done, he was so sincere in the practice that he never broke out of those 6 months Guha Anushtan. He would only come out for his daily, cleaning and the food. Sometimes that too, many times the food plate will just be outside and he will never come to pick it up. And then the next day, the disciples or some shishya, some sevak, I would say, uh, they would just replace the plate with the new one, because he would not eat that. And all that kept happening for 6 months in a row, and then he became a fully God realized yogi. And not only he realized himself, but he became Trikal Darshi. With all this, when he was perfect at Brahma Vidya Vihangam Yoga, all the yogic siddhis and vibhutis, everything automatically germinated within himself. Nobody can match the yogic siddhis that Sadafal Devji Maharaj had in his time in the human form. And so he can do anything. In fact, in his time, when America bombarded Japan with the Parmanu bomb, atom bomb, Sadafal Devji Maharaj made a statement. He said, for them to drop a bomb to Japan, they had to travel all the way over there and drop a bomb and create this chaos there. But in yogic power, a yogi can do more than that just by sitting right where he was. the yogi doesn't have to even go there. And Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj had that hold on the Parmanus. The entire Parmanu Vigyan, he can control those Parmanus just with his yogic power sitting right at one place. And the Parmanus that he was talking about was even more subtler than the Parmanu that the scientists used for creating the atom bomb. He said there is a separate, a different spiritual atoms, and a yogi can control that. And by controlling those spiritual atoms, a yogi can control not only the creation, but also the bhav, the expression of the human being. How you think, what you act, how you act, all these are controlled by those spiritual atoms which Sadguru can control. So Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj was extremely powerful, but yet determined that I am not here to show these powers to others, but just for, the confidence of Acharya Sri Pratham when he was passing on his powers to Prathmacharya Devji Maharaj. He would also experiment and show him these things. He will pass on some message and a disciple from far distance. Let's say he's sitting in Balia and he will pass a message to a disciple who is there in Bokaro or Kolkata. And that person will travel back with the stuff that Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj would have asked for. And that will just give confidence to Acharya Sri Pratham that Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj can do anything he wants.
स्वामी जी विश्व के मानव मात्र के बीच 1 लाख जीवों को
Yeah, so I believe that, somebody had some very good documentary to play. I would rather like to go by that. It's better to play that and make everybody listen today. It's a pious day for us to hear about Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj through the documentary. Even though it is in Hindi, I believe all the audience here is one who can understand Hindi. Anybody who was playing this, I would rather ask you to play here. Jai Sudha.
अखंड मंडलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। मैं तो कुतूहल मात्र में मुक्ति द्वार से आए, वहीं शब्द का द्वार है चेतन चेतन जाए। 25 अगस्त 1888 भारत के बलिया जिले के पकड़ी गांव में आध्यात्मिक जगत के सूर्य का अवतार हुआ। माता महारानी मुक्ति देवी, पिता बाबा अस्कम मुनि के घर इस युग के महानतम योगी सदगुरु सदाफल देव जी महाराज का अवतरण हुआ। नित्य अनादि के प्रत्यक्ष मार्गदर्शन में 17 वर्षों की कठिन तपस्या के पश्चात विहंगम योग के सत्य सिद्धांत एवं क्रियात्मक सहसाधन को पुनः जन सामान्य के बीच में प्रतिस्थापित कर वहीं स्वामी जी विहंगम योग संस्थान का स्थापना किया। स्वामी जी विश्व के मानव मात्र के बीच 1 लाख जीवों को मुक्त करने का भी सत्य संकल्प लिया। परमात्मा प्राप्ति के पूर्ण विज्ञान आज श्री सद्गुरु सदाफल देव जी महाराज द्वारा प्रकट हो गया। माया लोक छोड़ाई के चेतन लोक निवास, सद्गुरुता को जानिए भक्त मुक्त देह पास। ये ईश्वरीय विधान है कि संसार के बंधनों से जीवात्मा को केवल सद्गुरु ही छुड़ा सकता है। जो स्वयं बंधन में हो वो दूसरे को बंधन से बाहर नहीं कर सकता। सद्गुरु जग जीवों से अलग आत्मा को परमात्मा से मिलाने वाले एक नित्य अनादि चेतन सत्ता है। चारों युगों में प्रकट होने वाले कालजेय मानव पुरुष नित्य अनादि सद्गुरु देव प्रकट होकर महर्षि सदाफल देव जी महाराज को सद्गुरु का महान पद प्रदान कर मुक्ति देने का अधिकार दिया। महाशुक्ल नवमी का दिन सन 1954 महाकुंभ का अवसर प्रयाग में निर्धारित तिथि आ गई थी, जहां पूर्व घोषणा के अनुसार सैकड़ों शिष्यों के बीच योग मुद्रा में आसीन होकर सद्गुरु सदाफल देव जी महाराज ने अपने शरीर का परित्याग किया। तत्पश्चात 15 मिनटों तक आकाशवाणी कर अपने योग बल का परिचय देते हुए कहा, मैं जाता कहां हूं, मैं तो रहूंगा। मेरा विश्व प्रचार का संकल्प है, वह पूर्ण होकर रहेगा। 1 लाख आत्माओं को मुक्त कर मैं विचार करूंगा कि रहूं या जाऊं। तीसरी पीढ़ी में प्रचार पूरे विश्व में फैल जाएगा। ये योगी का संकल्प है, वो तो पूरा होकर के रहेगा। इसके पूर्व स्वामी जी ने ब्रह्म विद्या विहंगम योग की स्वाति ईश्वरीय ज्ञान धारा को अपने प्रिय पुत्र तथा सुयोग शिष्य की आत्मा में प्रवाहित कर उन्हें परंपरा सद्गुरु के पद पर प्रतिस्थापित किया। इन्हें ही आधुनिक युग के प्रथम परंपरा सद्गुरु के रूप में अध्यात्म मार्तंड 20 कला विभूषित अनंत श्री आचार्य धर्मचंद्र देव जी के नाम से आज विहंगम योग के शिष्य साधक संत भक्त प्रेमी जानते हैं। स्वामी जी ने ब्रह्म विद्या विहंगम योग के दुर्लभ विज्ञान का प्रचार प्रसार पूरे भारत में किया और अपने भौतिक शरीर का त्याग योग मुद्रा समाधि में स्थित होकर करने के पूर्व जुलाई 1969 ईस्वी में अपने प्रिय तृतीय पुत्र तथा सुयोग शिष्य की पवित्र आत्मा में सद्गुरु की दिव्य ज्ञानधारा को प्रवाहित किया और सद्गुरु पद का उत्तराधिकारी प्रदान किया। वर्तमान काल में यही महापुरुष 20 कला विभूषित आदित्य विहंगम योगी विश्व अध्यात्म मार्तंड अनंत श्री आचार्य स्वतंत्र देव जी महाराज के नाम से आज इस धरती के अध्यात्म सूर्य के रूप में विद्यमान है। आपकी छत्र छाया में विहंगम योग संत समाज का दिनानुदिन विकास हो रहा है और इस चेतन विज्ञान का दिव्य संदेश भारत के कई देशों के द्वार पर भी दस्तक दे चुका है। सद्गुरु का पद सद्गुरु ही प्रदान करते हैं। ये मानवीय पद या सामाजिक व्यवस्था नहीं, समस्त मानव जाति मिलकर भी अधिकृत नहीं कि किसी को सद्गुरु घोषित कर दे। सद्गुरु का पद उसी महान पुरुष को प्राप्त होता है जिसकी आत्मा के अंदर की धारा सद्गुरु द्वारा प्रवाहित कर दी जाती है। विहंगम योग कोई नया आध्यात्मिक विज्ञान नहीं, आज नए रूप में आध्यात्मिक लोगों को यह इसलिए दिखाई पड़ रहा है कि आज से हजारों वर्ष के बाद यह लुप्तप्राय अवस्था में स्थिर रहकर आज अपने वास्तविक भव्य रूप में पुनः प्रकट हुआ है। इसका श्रेय नित्य अनादि सद्गुरु का आदेश तथा अनंत श्री सद्गुरु सदाफल देव जी महाराज हिमालय योगी की कठिन तपस्याचर्य को है, जिन्होंने इस लुप्त प्राय विज्ञान को जन समाने के बीच उसी रूप में ला रखा है जिस रूप में यह प्राचीन काल के ऋषि महर्षि संत महात्माओं के बीच विद्यमान था। सद्गुरु कोई सामान्य संत महात्मा साधु योगी फकीर नहीं होते। सद्गुरु 20 कला संपन्न अध्यात्म मार्तंड विश्व मात्र का गुरु साक्षात परब्रह्म स्वरूप दिव्य गुण संपन्न सत्ता होते हैं। पारस लोहे को स्वर्ण में अपने स्पर्श से परिणित कर देता है, किंतु वह स्पर्श द्वारा कोई पारस नहीं बना देता। सद्गुरु न केवल अनेक संत महात्मा योगी बना देते हैं, बल्कि अपनी ज्ञान धारा किसी भी सुयोग आत्मा में प्रवाहित कर अपनी सारी दिव्य कलाओं का उसे उत्तराधिकारी बना देते हैं। सद्गुरु की यही महिमा अपार है।
Yeah, over to you, Vijayji, again. Sorry for playing this in the middle of.
Yeah, so Sadguru in our life is the greatest boon, and it is our great fortune that we are born in an era when Sadguru exists in the human form, and Sadguru is going to exist in the human form in next 3 more generations. Sadafal Devji Maharaj has already laid down the duration and the way this knowledge has to spread in the entire world. And sometimes very casually, the present master, Sadguru Devji Maharaj, will share this. For example, even the Bhumi Pujan that happened in America, and we saw one guest who was chosen for this celebration. Sadguru Sutan Devji Maharaj said this, that he was chosen right in 1954 itself by Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj. That soul was chosen to play a role in making an ashram here in America. So even though that soul is not in the present human form, let's say, though Das Kaka was already there, but I'm saying, even though the soul will be in different human form, different body, but Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj will choose the soul, and then accordingly that soul will take birth and get into that kind of position where he or she can be instrumental in furthering the activities of Vihangam Yoga, Prachar Prasar. Many of us have witnessed that how the Vishwa Prachar is happening in the sequence, as Sadafal Devji Maharaj has already documented in his diary. So Sadafal Devji Maharaj has written many future events in his diary before he left his body. And Sadguru Swatan Devji Maharaj or Prathmacharya Devji, Dharmchand Devji Maharaj, Sadguru Dharmchand Devji Maharaj, they were just adhering to those guidelines which was documented in the diary, and accordingly things will happen. So we are connected to such a great master who just left the mortal body but is still with us. And he said when he left his body from the sky, he spoke for 15 minutes and said, I don't go anywhere. It is just that now I'm free from the limits of the body, but I'll continue to live here till my pledge is over. So we are very fortunate that we have a protector, a knowledge giver in the form of Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj. जह रक्षक आपन नहीं कोई तह रक्षा सद्गुरु से होई. For all the disciples who are 100% surrendered on Sadgurudeo, Sadguru has come for protecting our disciples many times, our Guru Bhai, Guru Bahans, many times. Many occasions my own family have witnessed it. And I'll just share one occasion. In fact, there are multiple occasions, but one occasion being that my Bade Bhaiya, Buddhev Bhaiya, was once, passing by a road where there were too many bad people waiting for, kind of beating him. So they kidnapped him and started beating him badly. And the moment he saw the flag of Ankishwet Dhwaja from distance, he just remembered Sadguru. And suddenly, all those who were holding him, they, for some unseen forces, they were scattered and they just ran away. And Buddha Bhaiya was safe. Otherwise, they just wanted to kill him. So just by looking at the flag and remembering Sadguru came in invisible form and just protected him. My Manjle Bhaiya also, when he was in a train and then a dacoit came and they started looting everybody. And my Bhabhi and Bhaiya, they were just having the eyes closed and remembering Sadguru. And that the dacoit will loot the person sitting his left, his right, and as if these, my Bhaiya and Bhabhi, they became invisible to the dacoit. And they just did not look at them. They were looking at somebody else, but not to them. And they will just go to the next one, and they were all safe. And the Leela, Sadguru Leela continues like that. So once we are in the Sadguru shelter, if we are 100% devoted to Sadgurudeo, then not only he spiritually protect us from the lusty desires, but he also physically protect us from the harm if we are 100% surrendered to him. We are very fortunate that we are connected to Vihangam Yoga, wisdom, connected to the messenger of Almighty, Sadguru Shakti, which is humanly presented right now with Sadguru Sutan Devji Maharaj. We are also equally fortunate that Sadguru Sutan Devji Maharaj has decided to come to US again and again once the Acharya Nivas is ready. So we all have the greatest opportunity to make our human life worthy by becoming instrumental in constructing Acharya Nivas as soon as possible. This is the most valuable use of we being in America. And that's why Sadguru Sultan Devji Maharaj, despite he has option to fund these constructions with some other devotees from Gujarat and from various other countries, Sadgurudev said informally that the NAIVY members will take this seva. And then the ashram constructions, which will be Satsang Bhavan and various other parts of the ashram, that the other donors and devotees will come forward and do it. But right now, this is the examination for us to be worthy disciple and contribute towards the construction of Acharya Nivas. There is one thought going on right now, how we can build this ashram as soon as possible, how we can build the Acharya Nivas as soon as possible. So those who feel that my seva, if is accepted for this construction, then I'll be very happy and satisfied. Then those all devotees need to come together and make a plan how we can construct Acharya Nivas within a year. So we'll discuss more on this after we start meeting about it. So all those who are interested to contribute towards it, please be in touch with me. We are going to soon launch some activities which are going to fund this construction, and we all need to be equally participating in those. Jai Sadgurudeo.
Jai Sukhdev, Vijayji, request you to again, discuss about this, the picture, just right of the slide, and explain the significance of it. Is as today is the pious the Jan Jayanti of Sadgurudeo ji.
Yeah, so in Swarved Mahamandir campus, just like we have seen Swarved Mahamandir taking a gigantic form, there is a gigantic statue of Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj in making. It is being designed and architected by people from Gujarat. Rajasthan is the place from where the stones are being brought for this. So very soon we will see the kind of image you see here right now on the screen. This will be constructed in Swarved Mahamandir. There are devotees from America who have taken the pledge and commitment towards constructing this as well. So people are contributing to this construction and becoming fortunate of making this history. So anybody who is willing to contribute towards Swarved Mahamandir construction or the construction of this statue in Swarved Mahamandir, then we can still contribute towards it. But the only reason why we need Swarved Mahamandir and the great statue of Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, because we are at a phase where the wisdom is adulterated very soon with the 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 human own interpretation. So to make this wisdom of Sarved sustain for 1,000 years to come, Sadguru has decided to construct a temple of wisdom called Swarved Mahamandir. In Swarved Mahamandir, we have knowledge engraved on the walls of all these floors. There are 5 different floors, and then the gumbad on top of it. All these will have the knowledge engraved in the wall, and Sadguru statue will be there in front to enlighten people, to inspire people by his own journey of life, that the human being needs to seek. His own life is the representation of what a human being is supposed to do when you have got this precious human birth. So his statue will inspire people for spiritual journey and will become a pilgrimage, the greatest pilgrimage of India. People will come to see this gigantic place, and by only making this a beautiful place where tourists would like to come, people will actually get attracted to spirituality. So Sadguru Sudan Devji Maharaj says that once all these constructions are complete, then crores of people will visit this place and will get enlightenment every year. So we are very fortunate to be part of this construction seva and bringing change in the humanity by contributing towards it. Jai Sadguru.
Much thanks to Vijayji. So Wish you all a very happy birth anniversary of Sadhguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj. It's time for reflection, spiritual practice, and celebrating the life and teachings of this revered spiritual teacher. May this day bring inspiration and deeper understanding to his profound spiritual insights to all who commemorate it. Okay. Before going to the next section, I would like to inform that NAIVY has been conducting Brahm Muhurat Sadhana between 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. And this is to encourage all the members to participate in this sadhana activities. So we have a warrior of the week who has been consistently doing the sadhana abhyas at between 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. and then inductees of the weeks. So Surya Alam Raju ji, Tejinder ji, Ranjita ji, and Radha ji are the warrior of the weeks. Amit Talekar ji, Bhagwati Patel ji, Maya ji, Niranjan ji from California, Srirang ji, Tanuja ji, Yogeshwar Sagar ji, and Prachisa Sagar ji as inductees of the week. There is no session to join. Once, so you need to be part of a WhatsApp group. There you wake up early in the morning at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., perform your 10 minutes or more than that sadhana, and then you send a text message to that group as a done. And that's it. So if anybody is interested to do Brahm Muhurat Sadhana, please text message me or WhatsApp me so that I can add you to that group, and you can also start doing the sadhana at Brahm Muhurat. This exercise is just to encourage everybody to take the benefits of that Muhurat. We have now reached the last phase of today's workshop. In this phase, we chant short version of Vandana, Aarti, and Santipat. Vandana is prayer through which we seek blessings of Sadguru. We request well-being of health, wealth, and seek his blessing for his spiritual knowledge. I would now request Dev Ji to sing the last 4 lines of Vandana. Over to you, Dev Ji.
Vandana. Prabhu Kalpa Santa Samaj Uttam Sarva Dharma Acharya He Jimi Nadia Sriti Sindhu Ki He Vishvapatha Mahakaya He Prabhu Sacha Santa Samaja Tira Aparaksha Kijiye Jana Sadafala Jana Bhakti Priti Dina Dina Kijiye. Thank you.
Thank you, Dev Ji. Aarti is another prayer offered to Sadguru. Here we acknowledge the power of Almighty and pray that all disciples experience eternal joy, love, and freedom from worries under his holy guidance. I request everybody to stand up for the Aarti, and I would request Dev Ji to sing last few lines of Aarti.
Arti. Guru Marathi Gati Kandrama Sevakanayana Chakura Palaka Palaka Nirakar Rahe Guru Marathi Kiyo Shweta Shweta Maya Shweta He Shweta Shweta Maya Shweta Tina Pada Amriti Bara Shweta Mahamada Shweta Ashta Chakra Sunya Para Darya Adarya Kipa Tahan Sadafala Garakiya Pulipada Sansar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dev Ji. And now everybody, can sit down for the final prayer of Santipat. In the Santipat, we chant for peace for everyone who exists in this universe. May Sadgurudeo bless the entire cosmos with peace, love, and prosperity. I would now request Dev Ji to recite the last few lines of Santipat.
Shantipat. He Prabhu Shanti Sarupa Ho. Shanti Shanti Maya Shanti. Shanti Shanti Jana Shanti Ho. Purna Shanti Maya Shanti. He Prabhu Shanti Pradhan Kara. Duraho Sarva Shanti. Deva Sada Phala Shanti Maya. Shanti Shanti Sukha Shanti. Jai Sadgurudev Bhagwan Ki Jai.
Thank you, Dev Ji, for singing the ending prayers for us, Vandana, Aarti, and Santipat. Thank you, Subhas Ji, for discussing the details of the Swarved couplets, what we learned, how to call a Uttam session, how to detach from the Maya, and how to prepare ourselves to do seva, sacrifice with the worldly affairs. And thank you, Vijay Ji, for enlightening us the power with the power of Sadgurudev and discussing the life journey of Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj with his message, discussing the various projects which Vihangam Yoga is actually working on with respect to Sarved Mahamandir, the statue of Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, as well as our own mission to construct Acharya Nivas in this land of the United States. And thank you all the participants for sharing your valuable information, asking questions, and seeking the true knowledge of Vihangam Yoga. NAIVY has been conducting the Sunday virtual satsang for last few years. And if you have any questions or related queries, you can send us an email at info@vihangamyoga.org. And again, thank you all, and we'll meet again on this bridge line at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the same Zoom meeting. Till then, have a wonderful day, a week. Happy Sadguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj Janm Jayanti, and let's celebrate it as a festival. And Jai Sadgurudev to all of you.